Okay, guys, welcome back. Today, let's see. I want to review with you the structure of the programming languages. It doesn't matter which programming language we're going to review, but all of them share similar structure. And it could be a good idea to review that. And in particular, we can use Java to learn about the structure. The same structure of Java is going to be replicated in the new programming languages that we review. So let's see. Remember Java. What you did with Java was to learn the language. You spent 15 weeks, one semester, or your summer, learning Java. Different things. Help me, which is the paradigm that corresponds to Java?
Was it object-oriented?
Correct. The object-oriented programming paradigm. So I am talking about a language that is object-oriented, but again, all the languages, doesn't matter the paradigm, are going to share this similar structure. Now, what you learn with Java, basically, was rules, a set of rules. Learning a language, two things. Learning symbols, and then how to connect those symbols. I am going to talk not about the symbols, not about the keywords, not about the numbers, letters, data types, because that is going to be different in every single language. What I am going to talk about is the rules, because the rules somehow are going to be similar, if not the same, in different languages. Now, in order to talk about the rules, I want to talk about three different kinds of rules that you learn from Java. You learn lexical rules. Let me be clear about this. Lexical rules are the rules that you apply in order to create words. The input for the lexical rules are symbols, numbers, letters, whatever, symbols, the alphabet, basically. And you follow lexical rules in order to put together those elements, the symbols, and create words. Then you have the syntaxes, the syntactical rules. This is what you call the grammar when you are talking about a human language. The grammar, the syntactical rules, the syntax, those are the rules that you follow in order to put together words and create sentence. Did you notice the connection? Symbols to words, lexical rules. Then, when you have words, in order to create sentence, syntactical rules. Finally, you have semantical rules, the semantic of the language. These rules basically apply to the sentence. They do not have a particular output, but basically the output is going to be make sense or do not make sense. The semantic is about the meaning. This sentence makes sense, have a meaning, is correct in terms of expressing an idea in the language, yes or no. So, three kinds of rules. And obviously, the best thing that I can do is to show you an example of each of them in Java. Or better, ask you to give me an example. So, for instance, lexical rules. Do you remember one lexical rule in Java? Maybe you didn't noticed that was a lexical rule, but do you remember one rule in Java that was about how to create words?
Wasn't that like the ASC II or whatever it was for the words, the character?
Well, those are the characters that you use as a symbol, the Unicode characters. Let me give you an example. Do you remember the name of a variable? The naming convention. Thank you. Yes. Do you remember the naming convention?
Yeah, it can start with the numbers.
You mean like camel case or?
Anything. What is the rule in order to create the name for anything?
Oh, give it a data type.
Well, that is going to be different. I am just concerned about the name. I don't care about the data type, but the name.
It should start with an underscore or alphabet.
Cannot start with a number. Do you remember that rule? Nothing start with a number except a number. Yeah. Can I have a variable like 1x equal 5? I am giving you a full sentence, but the only thing that I want you to watch is this word. Can we agree that this word here is not correct? And you know that this word here is not correct because I have a number at the beginning and then I have a letter. And if you remember in Java, there is no way that having a number and then a letter is correct. It cannot be, right? Let me play a little bit. X1 is correct. Is the name for something in Java? Can you agree that that word could exist in Java?
Yes, we can.
If you tell me yes, then that means that I can put a type here, I can put an equal here, a 5 here, and everything is fine. It's the name for a variable. What about can this one be correct? Or that one be correct? I am talking about Java, always about Java.
No, because it's reserved, I think.
Which one is reserved?
The $, it's a special symbol for something.
Not in Java. You can have the variables with that. The rule that you review with Java, I know that it's going to be special in other languages. I know that for some of you, the $ symbol at the beginning in a particular language means something particular. Not in several languages means something in particular, but in Java, remember that the lexical rule that they give to you was something like, hey, any identifier, name of a method, name of a class, or name of a variable should start with a letter, a $ symbol, or an underscore. That should be the first character. And then you can have whatever you want. Do you remember that? That was the first lexical rule that they give you. It was a rule. It's something that you learn in order to be proficient with Java. What I am telling you now is that particular rule is a lexical rule. It's a rule about how to create words. In particular, names for variables, methods, or classes names. Make sense? Can you use a semicolon or a white space in the name of the variable? Can you have a variable, something like int, hello, minus, word, equal 5? Can this be the name of a variable?
No, it can't be.
Not in Java, but we're going to review other languages in which it's possible. But for Java, the lexical rule is you can have as a name for the variable, in this case, whatever you want. The first character cannot be a number, letter dollar symbol or underscore, and then the other characters can be whatever you want, except, and here, cannot be a delimiter, therefore cannot be a semicolon, cannot be an operator, therefore this minus cannot be there. Because for Java, this will be something like type, this is the name of the variable, and then this is an operator, and that is another variable, and these words together do not make sense. But that is a different story. The point is, in order to create a word, in particular, a name for something, you cannot put operators or delimiters as part of the characters that you are using. That is lexical rules. Makes sense? Now, more lexical rules. Tell me, 1.5. That is correct? Is a correct word in Java? Yes, right? It's a floating point number. What about 1.5 and the letter F?
Yeah, we can have it. It's a float number.
In particular, in Java, there is this special case in which you can have numbers and you can have the F at the end, because that is the letter that you use to identify doubles and floats, remember. So this is a very particular case in which you have numbers at the beginning and then letters, well, the letter F, and this is fine, and this is fine. Can you have something like 1 point? Is that correct? Or maybe 0.1, is that correct in Java? Yes, no? So basically what I am asking is, can I do double X equal double Y equal and use? So this is the value and this is the value. I am not using the F because I am adding double. So double numbers. My point is 1 point, good or not? 0.1, good or not? Try. You can open a compiler and run it. Anyway, we are making words. All of these rules for words. Hello, that is correct, yes or no? Just like that, hello. With what is the rule? The lexical rule is if you open quotation, you need to close quotation. It's another lexical rule. If you open single quotation, you need to close single quotation. This could be an error. Everything that is about how to put together elements, letters, numbers, symbols, in order to create one word is a lexical rule. And in Java, you learn lexical rules to create numbers, characters, strings, names for the variables, names for the methods, name for the classes. Any rule that was about how to put one word, doesn't matter if a number or a letter or whatever, those are your lexical rules. And I can ask you in the exam for 2 examples of lexical rules in Java, and hopefully you can provide those 2 examples. Clear? Yes, at least one yes, okay. Now, this is about lexical. The next step, syntaxis. Syntaxis, the rules to put together words and create a sentence. Which was the first syntactical rule that you learned in Java? the first rule that you learn regarding put together words in order to create a sentence?
For we create a variable, we need to define the data types.
I cannot be sure about which one was the first one, but I could give you some ideas. I am sure that you learned declaration of variables. Declaration of variables, what you learned was a syntactical rule. The rule was something like the following. You need a type, one word that represents the type. You need an identifier for the variable, and then you can have the semicolon. Well, in fact, you have two options. You can have the semicolon, or you can have the equal, a value, and then the semicolon. Someone teach you this, and this is a syntactical rule. This is one of the rules in the grammar for Java. Because when you learn this rule, now you know that, okay, a type. Let's choose a word that represents a type. And you know that that word could be int. And then you know that after that word, you need an ID. And following the lexical rules, you know that something like this is valid as an ID, is a word that is okay. And then you know that, well, if you put a semicolon there, 1, 2, 3 words in that particular order create a sentence, and that sentence follow the rule, therefore is correct. Another thing that you learn, the syntactical rule to create a class. Do you remember? Someone tell you that you need this word, class, and then you need the name for the class, and then you need open curly bracket. Open curly bracket is one word with only one character. And then here you can put the declaration of variables. For instance, you can have inside of your class a variable X, and so on. There is a rule that you learn about which words do you need to use and in which order those rules should be applied. Make sense? Syntactical rules, lexical rules. Lexical for the words, syntaxis to create sentence such as declaration of variables, sentence such as the classes, a method. Do you remember the syntactical rule for the structure of a method? What was the rule to create a method? Just for the method. If you need to teach me, go ahead.
Should be in small. Well, the next word, like if you say area, function area, then function should be in small letters, and the A in area should be a caps.
Again.
Do you want me to say it again?
Yes, please.
Okay, in case the name of the method is function area, then that should come as a single word. The word function should be in all small, and the first letter A in area should be in caps.
Okay. That is, just to be sure, that is the lexical rule for the name of the method. Everything is lowercase, like print. And then if you have a second word, the first letter for the second word, this one, uppercase. Just be careful. That is the rule for create the word that we're going to use as a name for the method. That one is a lexical rule. Now, the syntactical rule could be the following. When you create a method, do you remember the first thing that you do for a method? The first thing is the method is going to be public or private. So the first thing that you do in the syntactical part is the first word could be, for instance, public. What is the second word? could be static or nothing. The next word, what the method is going to return. The next word, then we can use the name. The next thing, open parentheses. The next thing, something inside or just close parentheses. The next thing, open curly bracket, the body, closing curly brackets. Lexical, for one word, the name. Syntaxis, for how to put together a collection of words in order to create a sentence. Which words do I need and in which order? Lexical, one word, put together characters. Syntaxis, several words put together in a sentence. Make sense? Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, Christopher. It's like the first one could be public, private, protected, then the data type, any data type, then the name. We use a lexical rule for the name, and then well, more things. Lexical and syntactic. No, the best practices are not rules. Rules are those things that are mandatory. The best practices usually are not rules. For instance, in this case, this one that I mentioned here as an example is not exactly a rule because in Java in particular is a best practice. The one that we mentioned previously, like no numbers at the beginning, that is a rule because this one is enforced for the compiler, this one is not enforced for the compiler. But I use that one as an example right now about how to combine things. The access modifier is optional. Yeah, in Java in particular, if you think about the word here, it could be public, private, protected, or nothing, because the rule in particular in Java is optional, that one. And the same for the parameters here. It could be nothing, or it could be type name, or type name, comma, and more type names. Usually the grammar is like that, with several different options. So lexical and semantic, lexical and syntactical. Let's review semantic. Well, it depends. Remember, the default is public, like for the methods and the variables, but this public inside of the same package. Well, at least that is the approach in Java. In C++, it could change. Now, going to the semantic. In semantic, the rules are not about how to put together things, but having something, if that something is good or not, and good or not mean if that something have a particular meaning. So, as you mentioned in the chat, the first semantic rule that you learned was, if I give you a piece of code and I tell you x equal 5, well, the first thing that should happen is, in order to know if this thing have a semantic meaning or not, the first rule is all your variables in Java should have a data type, which basically means I need a type here, or I need to declare the variable above. I mean, some point before using the variable, I need to know the type, because after I know the type, I can tell if this is good or not, if this makes sense or not. Type checking is one of the things that happen in the semantic review of a programming language, review that the type match. When you receive from the compiler an error, types do not match, that is a semantic error, because your words are correct, your sentence is correct, but do not make sense. If I give you x equal 5 and I give you x equal high, that's it. I am not showing you anything before or anything after. Use that picture of source code. Do you think that is correct?
No, not in Java.
Not in Java. Semantic is about the meaning, yes. If the sentence have a meaning. If I show you that code, nothing else, immediately you know that that is a semantic error in Java. How do you know that? Because, okay, let's assume that the X variable have a variable declaration in some point before. Let's assume that. If the X was declared as an integer, that may correct this one, but incorrect the next one. If the X was declared as a string, that may correct this one, but incorrect this one. And if the X haven't been declared at all, both lines are incorrect. We do not have a meaning there. Another example, Java, if one, again, that block of code, I don't care about what is above or below. I don't care if this is inside of a method or, I don't care. If I show you this block is correct in Java?
Yeah.
Sure?
No.
No. What is the problem with Java?
It's missing type declaration. And then the length the if statement goes and then the ending point. Or no.
Sorry, I put the mute. The boolean. In Java, the if is good, the parentheses, open and closing, even having this space here empty is fine in Java. You can have an if with no body. The point here is what I have inside of the parentheses. Inside of the parentheses in Java, what you need is something that is true or false. As you mentioned, you need a Boolean value. In Java, this one is a Boolean value, and the answer is no. The one is an integer, it's a number. Java is going to complain about this. There are other languages in which the one is going to be true, and this is going to be correct. Not in Java. So again, here you have all the words good. Maybe the sentence is good, but when you review the meaning, these do not have a meaning in Java. Maybe if you do something like 1 greater than 0, and you put that as a condition, now that makes sense. Now in Java it's going to have a meaning. 1 greater than 0, okay, true, therefore I have one Boolean value, therefore the sentence is going to be okay for Java. Good? Again, usually I am going to ask you to review kind of small portions of source code. The assumption is that anything above or anything below is fine. So just checking what is inside, that sentence, that line, good, bad, lexical, syntactical, or semantical problems. And exactly the same is what we are going to review with all the programming languages. You already know the lexical, syntactical, and semantical rules of Java. I am going to review with you those for C, C++, Lisp, and Prolog. And our goal in some point is going to be able to compare the different rules, lexical, syntactical, and semanticals, between the 4 programming languages that we're going to be reviewing. And which one have a better or worse semantic or grammar or lexic. Good? Now, something that I need you to know. I need you to be good knowing these rules in Java. I am going to ask you in the exam about lexical, syntactical, and semantical rules in Java. Not only about telling me the rule, but about being able to apply the rule. For instance, I need you to remember this and identify this as a lexical And therefore, I need you to be able to tell me if a particular error, lexical error, exists in a program. Now, in order to identify lexical errors, let me tell you something. What happens if I give you the following? Can you tell me how many words do I have in that line? Question number 1 in your exam, one line like that one, how many words? And maybe the question is, how do you know how many words do you have? Well, can you agree with me about the following? When you read a document in English, you know that you have a new word every time that you found a delimiter, in particular a white space. In English or in any other human language, usually the white spaces is something that separates words. In programming, it's the same, the spaces. However, not only the spaces separate words, there are other elements that separate words, right? White space is the first one. Second, can you agree with me that when you have an operator, for instance, if I give you 2 plus 2, even if I do not put the spaces, could you agree with me that 2 plus 2 altogether are 3 words? 2 numbers and the operator. Operators split words. When you have an operator, you know that whatever is before is one word, whatever is after is another word, and the operator itself is another word. Moreover, the same way that the operators work, you have delimiters. For instance, it doesn't matter that I am not using white spaces, but if I use semicolon or dot or colon, parentheses, curly brackets, all those delimiters, what you have before is one word, what you have after is one word, and the delimiter itself is another word. Finally, in some languages, including Java, when you have an enter, when you finish the line, automatically in one line at the end, you have one word, and in the next line, at the beginning, you are going to start with a new word. Those are the 4 things that split words in a program. So, knowing that, I can ask you again, in what I put below, how many words do I have? You will notice that I use in some places spaces, but in others, I just put things together. And you're going to have several examples like this in your exams, in one quiz. Next week, we are going to have a quiz. How many words do I have there now? I have 12, 11, 14, 8, 3. It's a very good question for a multiple choice, right? Use A, B, C, D, and several different numbers. Let's see. Can you agree with me that int is one word? And you know that is one word because here I put white space. This is the first word. X is going to be another word. It doesn't matter if I put white space or not, because the equal itself is an operator, and therefore the X is a word, the equal is another word, and then I have the Y that is another word. It doesn't matter if I put white space or not, but the semicolon is a delimiter and it's going to be another word. And then C is going to be another word. The equal, with or without spaces, is another word because it's an operator. 5F. Could you agree with me that 5F are going to be together? There is no white space. There is nothing between them. They are together. semicolon, and then I am opening quotation. Everything is going to be together until I close the quotation. Let me be clear. If you open quotation marks, everything is inside of the string until you close the quotation. What happens if I never close the quotation? From this point to the end of the line, you are going to have a string. Everything is going to be inside of the string. Well, in this case, I have hello, then I have the plus, and then I have the 7, that is my last word. So 1, total. $14, $10, $11, $12. $12, okay, thank you. So 12 words. Step number 1, you need to identify your words. Now, tell me, all the words are correct? Yes, no, maybe. We're going to review the lexical part. Lexical rules, my words, my 12 words, they are correct, yes or no? Very good question. How many words do I have there in that new line that I put? 1 plus hello world. 3. Okay, how many words do I have in hello world? 1. Everything inside of the quotation is one word. But I have hello and word together in one string, that is one word. When we're talking about programming, we're talking about words in terms of programming languages, and they are not exactly the same, at least with the strings, that words in terms of a human language. We're talking about words for programming. Hello world, hello everyone, word 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, hi, you, plus. How many words do I have there in that crazy line? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Everything inside of the quotation marks, one word, one string. That's it, program. It doesn't matter what I put inside, but from here to here, one word. Okay, so I have 12. Going back, they are correct, my 12 words here. How do you know if they are correct? Well, they follow the rules, yes or no. Int, correct, is the name of a data type. It's correct, it's a keyword. X is correct, could be the name of a variable. Equal is an operator, is fine. Y, fine. Delimiter, fine. C, fine. 5F, 5F, it's a floating point number. Fine. Semicolon. Open quotation, whatever, closing quotation, fine. The plus, fine. The 7 is a number, fine. All my words, correct. When you review the lexical rules, you review each word individually. So these words here, the words, the elements, they are correct. Now, the next point, how many sentences do I have there? Because I have 12 words. How many sentences? Yes, 3. How do you know that they are 3 sentences? Well, you can put words together and you know that one sentence ends with the semicolon, right? Because that is a rule that you learn, a syntactical rule. We finish the sentence, we finish the line, the instruction with the semicolon. So this one should be one sentence. And if we continue, this one should be another sentence. And well, this is another sentence. There is no delimiter there, so three sentences. Three sentences. Tell me, sentence number one is correct? Using the grammatical rules, using the syntactical rules, do you think is correct? The first sentence, only the first sentence. There is any rule that tell you that you can put a type, a variable name, an equal, another variable name, and a semicolon? Yeah, right. Variable declaration. You can declare a variable, x, and you can make that x equal to some value, and that value could be another variable, and you end with the semicolon. Is correct. Again, lexically, all the words are correct. Syntactically, that sentence one is correct. Sentence number two, the words are correct. What about the sentence? Can I have a sentence like variable name equal 5f semicolon? Variable name equal value semicolon? The grammar, tell me, syntactically that one is correct. Remember, we're reviewing lexical, fine. We're reviewing syntaxis, fine. So far, I have two sentences correct. What about the last one? Is a correct sentence? What is the problem with the last one? We're going to move to the semantic in the next, in a minute. But syntactically, the last one. The semicolon is missing, right? So in the last one have many problems. Problem number one, the semicolon. That sentence cannot be correct because it's missing a semicolon. The first thing that is going to happen with the compiler is the compiler is going to tell you semicolon is missing. So that sentence is wrong. But even if I add the semicolon, I mean, if I do semicolon, there you go. Did I fix the sentence? Can I have a sentence with value plus value and that's it? And the answer is no. You are missing something, right? I mean, a correct sentence should be something like a variable equal to the operation, but having only the operation with or without the semicolon is not correct. So error number one, the semicolon. Error number two, the sentence cannot be like this. This sentence, the sentence three, is incorrect. So wrong. Why the second one is correct? I have the question in the chat. The second one is exactly the same as having something like this. Variable name equal and a value and the semicolon. And that is correct syntactically. All the words are correct and the words are in the correct order. Syntactically correct. The variable name, C, anything can be okay, right? Remember, data types are semantic. I need you to remember, we review first the words. We don't care about where is the word. We review the words alone. Now we are reviewing the sentence. In the sentence, the only thing that we care is the order of the words. We don't care yet about the data types. We don't care. This is correct, and we don't care yet about the type of the X. The only thing that we're reviewing is, can we put X equal 1 semicolon, and that order is fine, is variable name equal value semicolon, the grammar. That is correct, syntactically. Next step, now we can review the semantic, and I can ask you, my sentence number one, because we review the semantic sentence by sentence, right? So we have three sentences. Sentence number one, semantically correct. Tricky question. Exactly. The problem with the number one is we do not know the type for y. In my example, you cannot tell me that is correct because you do not know the type for y. I have two options. Give you the type for y, but if I do not do that, your answer right now for the sentence number one is, you know what? It's not correct semantically because the variable y is not declared. If you give that sentence number one to the compiler should tell you variable y is undeclared. Okay, let me give you float x, comma, c, and now I am asking you to work with this and the 3 lines that I have below. That is the source code. With that new thing, sentence one, correct or not? Now, but now I have the y as a float. Now the variable is declared. What is the problem? Sorry. Why?
Not have two variables with same name.
Now the y have a data type, but can you make an integer x equal to y and y is a float? Type mismatch. You cannot do that, right? An integer variable cannot be equal to a float value. Semantically incorrect because do not make sense, because you are trying to put a floating point number inside of an integer that do not make sense, do not have a meaning, and that is semantic. Well, we can use casting, and then using casting, we can fix the semantic error. If we use casting, now the sentence, we can have a correct sentence. But in this particular example, without the casting, what I am telling you is there is a semantic error, and we can fix it. Using casting or changing the type, whatever, we can fix it. But right now, the sentence do not have a meaning, there is a problem. What about the second sentence? Make sense? Float equal 5f semicolon. Makes sense, right? Have a meaning. The second sentence is the only one so far that is lexically correct, syntactically correct, and semantically correct. That is a good sentence. The last one. The last one have a syntactic error, therefore a lexical error. Let me be clear. You review the lexical. If you have an error, stop, everything is wrong. If that is correct, you review the syntaxes. If you have an error, stop, it's wrong. If it's correct, then you review the semantic. You start here always, and you go out. If you found an error, stop, stop, stop. Your goal is to be here only if the 3 are correct. But you need to review them in that order. First the words, then the grammar, and at the end, the semantic. Makes sense? In fact, you know what? If you remember the lecture one, that is exactly what your compiler do. Your compiler, the first thing that the compiler is doing is lexical analysis, syntactical analysis, and semantic analysis in that order. The errors that the compiler reports to you are errors about a word is incorrect, some grammatical rule is not correct, like missing semicolon is a syntactical error that the compiler report to you, or type mismatch, that is a semantical error that the compiler is reporting to you. The compiler do those analyses for you. And it's going to be the same in any language, because for any language, you are going to need a compiler or an interpreter. Question for your exam. Here, line number 1. How many words in the line number 1? Okay, agree. How many of those 9 words are incorrect? And hopefully you notice the red color, right? This is fine, 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 this is fine. This cannot work lexically. Fine, wrong. Be careful, it's tricky. That semicolon is not a word, it's inside of the string. You're going to put everything inside of the string until the closing of the quotation. If you do not close the quotation, everything is a word. When I ask you to review lexical, the only thing that we review is the words. We don't care about the grammatical or the semantical part yet. Second line, how many words? Next, third line, how many words? Yeah, for my examples, I am using each line like an example. I am not going to use the block as one line, because that is the same thing that is going to happen in your exam. Like each line is one case for you to review. Second line, how many words? Can you agree with me that string at C is only one word? Why? Because the at is not an operator, is not a delimiter, is use another symbol and you put that together with whatever you have. So all of that, all the thing in red is one word. The first thing that you have to split words is the operator equal, so you split the word there. So string at C is one thing, and then the equal. And then you open quotation marks and close quotation marks, and you don't care about what is inside, but that is a string. And then you have this delimiter. Can you agree with me that this int x is one word? But the type is int. We're not talking about types. It's int x. There is no white space here. There is no operators there. There is no delimiters there. All these 4 letters is one word. It's going to be correct or incorrect. It's a different story, but it's one word. The equal, CS240, semicolon, if, parenthesis, x, operator, number, parenthesis. How many words? A lot. How many of those words are correct or incorrect? Hopefully you agree with me. The only word that is incorrect, the only word that have problem is string at C. What is the problem with that word? The at symbol. Why? You cannot use the at symbol in Java. Remember, the name for something should be dollar symbol, underscore, letters, or numbers. In any place in the rule, we mention the at symbol. Any place. So that one is wrong. What about while? One word. Correct or incorrect? Lexically talking. Hopefully you agree with me. It's one word and the word is correct. But it's missing the parentheses and it's missing the curly bracket and so on. That is syntactical. We're talking about lexical. Lexical, the word is fine. And I am sure that you can practice with this, and this. And the question is how many words and which one are correct or incorrect. I am just curious about this one. Tell me how many words in that one here. correct. Two words. The first one is the operator, and the second one, all of these numbers together. Okay, so let's see. Int x equal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That line, lexically correct, yes or no? Syntactically correct, yes or no? Semantic. Semantically, yes or no? No. What is the problem with the semantic? Integer in Java. An integer in Java can store this guy? I think no. Overflow, exactly. So it's correct lexically, syntactically, but in Java, the semantic is going to fail. The same line in Lisp is going to be correct because Lisp is going to be able to handle this size of integer, but that is a different language. So far, lexical, syntactical, and semantical. Hopefully everything go good. Now, next. If I give you this, or I give you this, you can compare. They are the same. The only thing that I did, for instance, here is to add enters. One thing that I need you to remember, programming languages, they don't care about the enters, tabs, and white spaces. The first thing that the compiler or the virtual machines do is to ignore the white spaces, tabs, or enters. For the computer, these and these are the same. The only reason because we add enters or spaces is to facilitate the reading of the program to another human being, not to the computer. So just remember, this or this, the enters do not make any difference. Well, I am talking about Java. Yeah. Good. Lexical rules as a summary for identifiers, keywords, operators, delimiters, values, literals, and comments. Hopefully you remember this combination and this combination are the comments in Java. They are lexically correct. Those are the categories of words that you can have in any programming language. What we're going to learn for all the languages is how to create identifiers, which are the keywords, which are the operators, which are the delimiters, how to create values, literals, and how to put a comment. This, you know in Java, hopefully. We need to review the other languages. And that is the lexical part, the structure of the program, the words, combining the words, the rule to combine the words. Well, in any language, if you go online, something that you can find is the grammar for the language. For instance, these diagrams represent the grammar in Java. Something that you mentioned to me, how to create a class in Java. Well, you can have a modifier or nothing, public, private, protected. Then you have mandatory class. Then you have an identifier. Identifier is the name for the class. Then you can have nothing or you can have extend. And if you have extend, you have another name for the class. Remember, inheritance. It is not mandatory. And then you have, or you could have implements or nothing. If you have implement, you have another name, the name of the interface. And you can use the comma because you can implement several interfaces. And in some point, you open the curly bracket. If you follow the diagram, it's exactly the same thing that someone teach you in CS110. Similar for which are the modifiers, how to create a variable. You can find a diagram like this for every single rule that you learn in Java. And also there are diagrams like this for every single language that we're going to review. But that is coming. Help me. If I ask you in these examples, each of the lines is a different example. They are syntactically correct, yes, no, and if no, where is the error? And yes, I am using red colors to give you a hint. Line number 1, what is the error? First, line number 1, lexically correct, yes or no? Lexical errors, nothing, right? All the words are correct. What about syntaxes? Everything is correct except the missing semicolon. Remember, missing semicolon is a grammatical error, a syntactical error, an error with the words and the order of the words. Line number 2, the words are correct. Hopefully you agree with me. Yes, all the words are correct. There is a syntactical error in the second line. There is any way in Java that you can close a parenthesis and then have something that looks like the name of a variable? There is no way. What can you have after a closing parenthesis in Java? An operator or a semicolon, a delimiter. Yes, so syntactical error. What about this one? Lexical errors, syntactical errors. Nothing in red, so hopefully everything is fine. What about this one? Lexical errors, syntactical errors. In red, why? That is a syntactical error. What is the problem with the syntaxes? The left part can be a variable, right? Cannot be an expression with the equal. Okay. What if I have this operator instead of the equal? Still have an error or not? Now it's correct. Why? For the equal, the assignation, you need to have in the left part a variable, but for the two equals, now it's a relational operator. It is fine to have two other expressions. So with two equals, could be fine. With one equal, I have a syntactical error. What about this one? Yes, I have an if, and yes, instead of open curly bracket, I close the curly bracket. That is fine? No. And the error is, this guy should not be there. Or you are missing the opening first. If I put that, open and close is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Because I can have empty inside, but if I open and close, fine. If I only close, I have an error. And the error is syntaxis. Why? Because I have a missing word there. And the last one, do I have any error there? Tricky. What is the error? Lexically correct, syntactically correct, all the words in the correct order. If we move to semantic, the 5, but this semantic. If I ask you about syntaxis, this is correct. Be very careful in your exams, in your quizzes. In this slide, I am asking you for syntaxis. If I ask you about the last one, in terms of lexical and syntaxis, is correct. Professor, but the 5 is wrong. It's wrong, but it's about semantic, and the question was not about semantic. So be careful. Good? Any questions so far? Great. Now, I am going to stop with this. I review lexical and I review syntaxis. I am going to use the next lecture to talk more about semantic, because I want to review the rules for the semantic, not only in Java, but in the other languages that we're going to review. Kind of give you a picture about which are the things that we review in semantic. My homework for you guys, please be sure that you can tell me how many words in all those examples. Can you count how many words do I have here? Is a question in your exam for sure, a sentence and how many words? How many words in this one? Just checking. $11, good. Be sure that for all the examples here and before, you can count how many words. If you have any question, let me know. Also, be sure that you can identify the errors. I put them in red for you. Just be sure that it's clear for you that anything in red is an error, lexical error, and just be sure that you can identify what is the difference between a lexical error and a syntactic error. Those two, very, very clear. Think about examples of lexical errors in Java. Think about examples of syntactical errors in Java. That is another question in your exam is give me 2 examples of lexical errors in Java. Give me 2 examples of syntactical errors in Java. And type checking is not lexical and not syntactical. So just be careful with that. So any question? Parentheses.
Sorry.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
you said that there were 11 words in that line. I counted 12. So is it 11 or 12? Okay.
Let me check. Parenthesis is 1. The name of the variable 2. The operator 3. Another variable. The parenthesis is another one. This operator is another one. Parenthesis is another one. Variable name another one. This operator is another one. This variable is another one. The parenthesis is another one. And the semicolon is another one. How many? $12? Okay, 12. Sorry about it. So be sure that you can identify them. Operators, delimiters are going to count like one word. Like in this case, even though I have 2 equals, I count them like one because it's one operator. Parentheses, open and close, count like 2 different words. Open is one word, closing is another word. The same apply for the square bracket and the same apply for the curly brackets. They are 2 different words, only with 1 character. X greater or equal than 5, not Y, semicolon, semicolon. In these 2 examples, how many words here? X, operator, number, and semicolon, 4. In the second one, three, right? Operator, variable, semicolon, 3. Makes sense? So just practice with that in the examples in the slides. Lexical and syntactic is my core goal today. Next lecture, we move forward. I need to talk more about semantic. Any question to close?
I had one real quick.
Okay, good. Help me, people. Hello, quotation marks, everyone, quotation marks, operator, minus, words, and question mark. Well, I don't know if the question mark is used for the question or the question mark is part of the sentence, but how many words there? Hello. This quotation mark is a delimiter, is the beginning of a string. So hello ends there. The quotation starts with the string. all of this until I close. Doesn't matter what I put inside, it's going to be my second word. This is going to be an operator, you know, it's not, so it's the third word. This one is another operator, the minus, and they together are not one operator, so they are two different. It's another one, and these words could be the name of a variable, so that one is another one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. And if you want to add the question mark, the question mark is valid in Java because remember it's an operator, is work together with the if and switch, is the conditional operator. So even if you add the question mark, that guy could be the number 6 in the particular question. Without this, we have 5. Makes sense. Now the question is going to be syntactically correct. Lexically, everything is fine. When you move to the syntaxes, we immediately have a problem because you cannot have 1 and 2 together. You cannot have an identifier, hello, the name of a variable maybe, and everyone that is a value. You cannot have together variable name and value. You need something in the middle. So that is the first syntactical error. One way to fix this for the syntaxes could be to put here a plus maybe, and now this could make sense. Variable plus value. Again, I am talking about syntaxes because then in semantic, we need to review that hello is a variable string, but that is semantic. In terms of the syntaxes, if I add a plus there, at least I can have this part, okay? But then I have this operator not, and the rule for the not is that it should be at the beginning of the sentence, not in the middle, because it's a unary operator, not a binary operator. So here you have another syntactical error for that particular example. The other one, int x, I think I give you this one, int x equals CSE240 with semicolon. For this one, be careful. If I do not have a white space here, like in the example, all this is one word, int x. Is correct the word? Yes or no? In Java. Okay, hopefully you agree with me. It's fine. It's the name of a variable. The variable can be int x. It's a variable. I have the equal, that is could be my second word. And then I have this CSI240, that is my word number 3, that again could be the name of a variable. And then I have the semicolon, that is my 4 words. So 4 words, syntactically correct, yes or no? And hopefully you agree with me. Syntactically, what I have is variable equal variable semicolon, and that is fine. Semantically, the first problem with semantic is variables are not declared. I do not know the type for CS240 and I do not know the type for int x. So semantically, the first thing that is going to be a problem is I do not have types. But that is semantic. Again, we need to review semantic. Lexical and syntactically, this line is fine with 4 words. Good? Any other question? Okay, guys, see you next week. Thank you.